That's the interesting thing about Morgan, is that he's already got some of these attachments, and every time you really start to see like what it means to have a deeper connection, to know people. You know, when you have a connection to people, you get to start to know who they really are rather than what they are on the surface. And I think a lot of this season reflects that. I mean, the ability for Alicia to look past what Charlie's done and get to know who she is. Madison's unbelievable talent for tolerating even the most, underhanded kinds of attacks, like Naomi, June as Naomi, basically almost ending her, and I mean being overall hostile even in the face of, trying to give her the most leeway and being hospitable and trying to get her to join. There's tons of examples in this season where things could have gone sideways, but people moving beyond their perceptions, it not only reverses the situation, produces almost unbelievable possibilities. And you do see that from episodes past, where how did we get to a point where Alicia wanting to take Charlie to the beach gets Strand and Dory saved and all this stuff, and then Luciana saved because Morgan decided to write down the his radio channel on the boxes that he decided to start distributing with Wendell and Sarah. And this was as a result of Alicia leaving him in the midst of a hurricane. So everything that happens because people start to move beyond their expectations of other people. The surface expectations, Martha could not look past. And so when you see Morgan start to rally every time he hears from the group, or every time he almost thinks that they're already dead, and then somebody kind of chimes in, you see him rally again. You see him kind of just gather his strength. There's like more of a reason to live, and that's important too. And like, it's kind of like no one's gone till they're gone. And you know what? Morgan is thinking to himself at one point, the radio kind of conks out. Morgan doesn't know what's going on. And so that kind of brings me back to the Henry situation, the John and Morgan conversation from earlier, where John is basically saying to him, I don't know, after 48 hours, if I don't hear from you, I'm coming after you. I don't know what state I'm going to find you in, but no matter what, I'm going to find out. And so that's Morgan by the end of this episode. And you start to understand that when you get to that point where Morgan is not even questioning, he doesn't even skip a beat, when he doesn't hesitate, and all he can think of is, I need to know what happened to this group no matter what. It's on me. If I can save them, that's great. I mean, before you might have been thinking as he was going on and stumbling and barely not able to get up, you were thinking he just needs to know that he can still save them. And even before with Martha, you're thinking that as well. Like, he just needs to know that he can save them. There's a sliver of hope. I can still save them. I won't lose myself. But when that radio goes out, all bets are off. He could have just as easily just given up. It could have gone either way. There are so many times in my life, particularly, and maybe even the lives of others, where I've seen people when, let's say your cell phone dies. You almost lose the hope of reaching, if you really need to reach your loved one, you're almost like, well, I guess I'm not communicating with that loved one. Well, borrow a friend's phone. Log onto your contacts, your iCloud, and then if you don't know your loved one's number by heart, because that's a thing in 2018, look it up on someone else's phone, call them from their phone, ask a stranger. There are things that we do when even the smallest obstacle is removed that gets us to give up. But Morgan is finally kind of moving beyond that, and you saw him fold when things got too hot, when he was faced with the possibility of not seeing Henry alive again. And when you see him start to, not run, but kind of like a hop skip, kind of a jump when he was trying to knock out that last walker on the bridge in that one scene, you start to understand that he's moved well beyond that. He is not in that. He's not going back. And just like John Dory said to him on the walkie, like saying, I don't blame you, but here's the deal. You didn't kill her. You're not going to change. You're still who you are when you are. Even long after we're gone, you're going to be who you are, and you're going to help somebody else out. And yes, the radio ends right there. But those words, leaving on that note, even though it was a bitch of a note to kind of leave off on, that is enough for him to kind of go, I need to know what happens to at least my friend here. So he resolves himself to do that. Now, and so it kind of brings me back to the original point, and that's that Martha ends up unsticking Morgan unintentionally. She does like the best, I know it's a shitty thing, but she kind of does the best thing for him. She kind of forces him into a situation where he has to get over this. He needs to unstick himself for good.